Hello and welcome. I'm Kate, also known as the Daily Tarot Girl, and welcome to part 2 of my court card series. Today we're going to be diving into the Queen of Swords. So settle in, get comfy. I'm going to give you the rundown on the Queen of Swords. I'm going to be telling you all about her personality, what she represents. I'm going to be giving you journaling questions, so get ready. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about, well, first of all, I should say that the image that you see on your screen is from the Universal, let's move over here. It's from the Universal Waite Tarot. And the first thing I want to touch on is the suit element. So the suit of cups corresponds to the element, the suit of swords corresponds to the element of air. And this suit has to do with the mental aspect. So the intellect, the mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, and also communication. And I think that this is really important to keep in mind when we're studying the court cards. This is one of the keys to really understanding the court cards, is understanding the suit qualities and what element they correspond with. So I'm going to tell you some key words and personality traits of this queen. So the Queen of Swords is very intellectual. She's very smart and witty. She's also highly observant. She pays attention to what's going on around her. She's also a very clear and direct communicator, and she knows how to bring clarity to a situation. She's well-read and knowledgeable. And she's very organized, intentional, focused, and she's very honest, almost to a T, almost to a fault. And she's a truth seeker. So she's always looking for the truth. She's always looking to find and expose the truth in any kind of situation. So a few key symbols that I want you to pay attention to here. The first thing is the sword that she's holding, and it's pointing straight up. And to me, that straight sword really represents her straight-laced qualities. She's very straight-laced. She's very kind of serious. She's a straight shooter. She's very straightforward in the way that she communicates. And that sword also represents being able to cut through confusion and distractions and really get to the heart of things. And the tip of that sword is very pointy, and that pointedness to me represents the queen's ability to focus on just one thing at a time, being able to really focus her attention. There's also butterflies on this card. There's butterflies on her crown and on the throne that she's sitting on. And to me, butterflies represent transformation and the power that our thoughts and our mind have when it comes to transforming things and creating changes. Often how we think about something has a really big impact on the way we experience something. And we can often create a lot of changes and a lot of transformation just by thinking about, or just by changing how we think about things. The angel face that's on the throne to me represents a certain kind of innocence. And I think this really comes through in this queen's ability to be very honest, and she's almost like blunt in her communication style, and there's a certain kind of innocence to that. I want you to notice her outstretched hand. She's holding her hand out, and that outstretched hand, it's like she's kind of testing the temperature of the air or just feeling to see which way the wind is blowing. To me, this represents her qualities of observation. She's always paying attention to things. She's observing. She's always kind of taking the temperature of the room and paying attention as to what direction the wind is blowing. I also want you to notice the blue sky and the clouds that are in the background. To me, the blue sky represents clarity and the clouds may represent confusion. And if you notice that the queen's head is well above the clouds. So her head is above the clouds. And to me, this just represents that she is very clear-headed and she's very, very clear in her mind and not confused and cloudy. Okay, so let's talk about her talents. She has many talents. She is a wonderful speaker. She's really good at teaching because remember, she's very intelligent, yet she's also very observant, and she knows how to bring clarity to something and knows how to really focus. So she's very good at making sense of things and teaching and communicating what she knows in a very easy to digest, understandable way. So she's really good at teaching. She's also a wonderful writer. Remember, she excels in the area of communication. So speaking and writing are her forte. She's also great at doing research, and she's so good at organizing things. She is kind of the Marie Kondo of the tarot. She loves to organize things. She would make a great personal organizer. So at a party, if you were to go to a party and meet this Queen of Swords, you would most likely spot her over in the corner, kind of nosily perusing the host's bookshelf. She's very nosy, and she's also a little bit judgy, and she loves books. So whenever she's at a party, she goes over to the bookshelf and is kind of snooping to see what's on the host's bookshelf. Now, if she finds a bunch of Danielle Steele novels and Tom Clancy paperbacks, she's gonna kind of look down her nose at the host and be like, that's not gonna impress her. You know, she's not impressed by romance novel paperbacks and things like that. You may not connect with the Queen of Swords right away because she comes across a little bit cold, a little bit chilly, kind of like a little bit distant, and she also seems like she sort of is a little bit straight and uptight and kind of lacks a sense of humor. This actually isn't true. She does have a wonderful sense of humor, but it doesn't come across when you first meet her. She's not going to laugh at your fart jokes. She's not going to be impressed with your intimate knowledge of, Love Island, seasons 1 to 8. She's not going to be impressed by that. But once you get to know her, you'll find that she's actually very deep. She's very sensitive, she's very, very observant, and she is a true treasure trove of what I call niche knowledge. So she has read all kinds of books, she's listened to all kinds of podcasts, and she has a lot of knowledge about a lot of really specific topics. So if you have a question about something and you're wondering about something, especially if it's some sort of historical thing, more often than not, the Queen of Swords is going to have an answer for you. She's up on all the trends, all the fashion, but she seems unhip, and that's because she really doesn't care. She doesn't care if people think she's cool or not, so she's not like a flashy dresser necessarily, which actually makes her truly cool in a way. She just doesn't care. She's very well read, and she has a ton of interesting opinions about all kinds of topics. And she's the perfect person to, if you want someone to critique something, if you've written a novel or a short story and you want her to critique it, she is the person to go to. Her critique might be a little bit harsh, but she's always going to be honest with you, and her feedback is always going to be really constructive. All right, so when it comes to love and romance, the Queen of Swords' heart and other parts won't throb until a prospective lover has proven their superior conversation skills. Being locked in a really tense and breathless intellectual discussion is what really gets her going. And an intellectual bond must happen before any physical, any sexual, any romantic connection is even considered. When this queen is in love, all she wants to do is talk, talk, talk. She'll talk your ear off. And she loves things like erotic literature. That is her porn. But she wouldn't call it that because she doesn't like that word. So if you want in her bed, you must first get in her head. Okay, I'm on to my second page of notes here. So in the areas of work and career, this queen is very hardworking. She's very focused and determined. She's a little bit of a perfectionist, and she pays so much attention to detail, almost a little bit too much. She's very critical and judgy of others, but not as critical and judgy as she is of herself. She is her own worst critic. She's kind of like the typical Virgo. If you know anything about astrology, just think of Virgo. That is kind of what the Queen of Swords is like. She has a tendency to work way too hard and may sometimes find that she doesn't really have a life outside of her work and career. She's just so dedicated to her work. Some professions that you will most likely find the Queen of Swords in is lawyer, writer, speaker, professor, researcher, data analyst, or a film and book critic. When it comes to money and finances, she's usually not rich, and this is because she just isn't all that interested in making money. She's very practical and she's good at balancing her books, but if you gave her $100 million, she will probably still drive the same old crappy car that's falling apart. She'll wear the same old frumpy clothes. She'll eat at the same restaurants. The biggest change would be that she would start buying hardcover books instead of taking books out of the library. And my camera is just being jostled from my cat. My cat just decided, hey Melina. My cat just decided to walk up and headbutt my tripod to get my attention, presumably. Okay, Marlena, that's enough. Okay, so in order to thrive, this queen needs to feel intellectually stimulated. And more than anything, she needs for people to think that she's smart. She pretends that she doesn't really care what others think of her, and for the most part this is true, except when it comes to her intellect. She wants others to see her as highly intelligent and very capable, and if she suspects that someone thinks she's an idiot or thinks that she's incapable, it will drive her crazy. She also needs to feel organized. She needs to be able to organize and prioritize and make sense of things. And she also needs to be able to speak her truth. This is super, super important. Sometimes her communication style can come across as being like too harsh and too direct and too blunt, but she needs to feel like she can just speak her truth. And last but not least, in order to thrive, the Queen of Swords needs to have a good book on the go. If she doesn't have a good book on the go, she feels lost. I know you might be able to relate to this. I know I can. This is the part that I relate to the most. I need to always have a good book on the go, or I feel out of sorts. So a few things that she really dislikes. She dislikes dishonesty and superficiality. She can't stand messiness and disorganization. She does not enjoy small talk, and above all else, she can't stand idiots. She does not suffer fools lately. Let's dive into her dark side. So the worst thing about this Queen of Swords is that she can come across as being a little bit too cold and critical and maybe overly intellectual. She can maybe even sometimes come across as a little bit snobbish and stuck up. Sometimes she lacks emotion and creativity and spiritual connection, and will come across as being too blunt and direct. The worst part about her is that she lacks social intelligence. So what she has in intellect, what she sports in intellect, she lacks in social intelligence. So she's not very good at reading a room, or even how do I say it? Like, she's sometimes not very good at knowing how her words are going to come across to someone else. So she might say something very direct and very blunt and critical to someone without stopping to think, hey, that might be really hurtful. Like, this person might really react to that. And then she's surprised when they're offended. So she kind of is a little bit socially awkward at times. And sometimes she's a little bit too uptight, a little bit too straight, and comes across as being a little bit of a bitch. So some practices to embody this card: writing a letter or a speech. This is where we really channel our inner Queen of Swords, because remember, there's a little bit of Queen of Swords in all of us. Now, as you're listening to me talk about her, you might be thinking, oh yeah, this is totally me, I'm totally Queen of Swords. Or there might just be a few little things that you relate to and many things that you don't. Or there might just be one little grain in here that you can relate to, but there's a little bit of Queen of Swords qualities in all of us. And when we're writing something, when we're writing a speech or a letter, we're really channeling our inner Queen of Swords. Making a to-do list, this is another Queen of Swords activity. Getting into a really good book and just getting lost in that book, that's something that the Queen of Swords would approve of. joining a debate club, a book club, or a philosophy group. Again, these are Queen of Swords activities. Practice speaking your truth. If you're normally the kind of person who really censors yourself and really beats around the bush and tries to soften the blow by speaking, always speaking in a positive way, practice doing that a little less and see how it feels. Really practice speaking your truth, channeling your inner Queen of Swords as you do it. And critique something. Critique a book, critique a movie or a show. Again, these are all ways to really embody the Queen of Swords. So a few journaling questions I have for you. What part of the Queen of Swords do you most relate to? And if you want to just share with me in the comment section below, I'd love to hear about it. So me personally, I relate to almost everything with the Queen of Swords. Not everything, but most of it. A lot of this I find relatable. Who do you know that is like the Queen of Swords? So I was thinking about this and I thought, well, other than myself, I couldn't think of anyone in my day-to-day life, but I could think of the actress Tilda Swinton. For some reason, she makes me think of the Queen of Swords and that Queen of Swords energy. And there's a movie that I saw years ago, like 20 years ago, it's either called Swimming Pool or The Swimming Pool. And the main character in that movie, who I believe is played by Charlotte Rampling, but I'll have to Google and double check. I could be wrong on this, but I think that's the actress who plays her. That main character really reminds me of the Queen of Swords. Which Queen of Swords qualities would you like to cultivate in your own life? I'm always trying to be more organized and more focused, so that's what I'm working on cultivating. And which of her traits do you want to minimize or watch out for? So I would say for me, the trait that I want to watch out for is I can sometimes be very critical. That's one thing. I can be a little bit critical and I can be very judgy sometimes. So that's something that I'm always trying, not necessarily trying to minimize, but just trying not to broadcast that so loudly. So again, if you want to share your answers to any of those journaling questions, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot about the Queen of Swords, and I hope that next time this card shows up for you in a reading, she's going to feel like an old friend. And you're going to see the Queen of Swords and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I know all about you. So thanks again for watching and happy tarot reading. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be diving into the Queen of Cups next. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give me a like, and you can check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'm going to put the link just below this video. So thank you so much for watching.